What's going on? This is Coach D coming at you, and today we're going to go through a HBA Funnel Builder review for 2025, and we're going to walk through a live website audit and a demo. All right. So basically, there was someone in a Facebook group who asked for feedback on their website. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through the feedback that I gave them and also show you some of the changes that they can make if they have the HBA Funnel Builder, so you can kind of get a little demo of some of the tweaks that can be made inside of the HBA Funnel Builder. Now, even though this person, I don't know what platform they built their website on, but you'll see how some of the changes that I suggest can actually be made inside of the HBA Funnel Builder. So if you have the Funnel Builder, they are super easy to make. And I'm going to take you through all of that step by step, from my personal experience as dealing with these builders and websites. Now, definitely, if this is your first time on the channel, you definitely want to subscribe. All right, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell so you can be alerted next time I come up with some content. And as you follow along, like I said, if you don't already have the HBA Funnel Builder, don't worry. I'll make sure I put a link down below. It'll be the first link in the description or the link in the comments that you can go ahead and check that out for yourself. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to this walkthrough. All right, we're gonna do a website review. And basically, you guys know that I use the HBA Funnel Builder to do website pages and funnels unlimited amount for one set price, which is awesome. And sometimes what I like to do as well, because as I'm taking this journey myself, learning to build pages and websites, I like to, see what other people are doing and help where I can, because I'm learning a lot of different things about the do's and don'ts, if you will, with websites. So actually was in a Facebook group earlier, and someone posted and they were asking for feedback for their particular website, which is definitely awesome. A lot of times entrepreneurs can feel, a little shy about asking for feedback and everything. But I think this young lady, she did a very good job, of taking, the information that people were giving her, and saying, hey, I'll work on that and stuff like that. Because, hey, nobody's perfect. I don't care how long you've been doing websites and what have you, or how short amount of time you've been doing websites. There's going to be some things that you do that really stand out and are great, and there's going to be some things that you can use work on. All right, and that's all of us. So as I'm learning some things, like I said, I wanted to go ahead and do some feedback. She asked everybody for feedback, so I'm going to show you guys how I walk through that. So let me go ahead and share my screen and we can just jump right into it. All right, so this is the site that she asked about. Okay, so we're just going to go ahead and open that site in a new tab over here. All right, now right off the bat, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at both views. We're going to look at the desktop view, and then I'll show you a way that I've learned to be able to look at, the other views, because obviously this is not inside of the funnel builder that I use to create websites. So I don't, have the back end usage of the website. But there are some ways that I'll be able to see the mobile version. But first, let's take a look at the desktop version. Now, some things that I've definitely learned for sure. Um, and some things that I myself, things I'm pointing out is not like, it's the purpose of it is to help the person. I'm going to post this video to the young lady and give her my feedback on video so that way she can see and anyone else who needs it. But the purpose is because like there's some things that are going on this website that I used to do as well. Because I mean, you don't know until you know. That's why you ask questions, right? So that's really good. I commend her for that. So right off the bat, I mean, I like her theme. It says grunge honey, but even if it didn't say that, I would be like, oh, okay, it's kind of like a grunge look, right? I like her theme. I like her colors as well. But now let's get into the website itself though. While I like the colors, like I said, I like the theme. But the colors, right off the bat, the colors are hard to read because you got the video in the background. Okay, that's cool. I don't know if she meant for it to not show her face up top. I'm not sure. But the colors are hard to read. And this is just on desktop right here. So like if you have the purple background, the colors might need to be white, as a possibility. But they definitely need to stand out from the background. Okay, so that's the first big red flag. If I'm just, looking at this, and of course, like I said, I'm on desktop. And so that means it's a bigger screen, right? It'd be even harder on mobile, but on this bigger screen, it's like it's really hard for me to read. So that's the first thing I would do. Um, and what was her name? Miss Kayla. That's the first thing that I would do, Miss Kayla, is, change the color of your text. The other thing, as far as the text that you chose, I mean, in my opinion, it actually fits the grunge look. I'd like to see how it looks when it's the white color. And even an overlay to the video, and I'll show you what I mean to an overlay to the video to help the text stand out once you change the color of it, because you don't want to have basically like a similar color on top of a similar color. It just makes it harder to read that way. So you have like the purplish pink on top of the purple, makes it harder to read. And I'll show you an example of what I mean with that. So I did pull up a test site, just one that I kind of put together to show you what I mean by the contrast of the website, the contrast in colors. So over here, look at this website here. Now, this is, again, it's just a test website. It's not a real one or whatever. But what I want you to pay attention to is the same hero section up here. Okay, you got a little, I just went ahead and put a little video back there so I can show the difference. And you see the words are in white, but what happens is, look right here where it says communities. You probably can't even tell that it says communities right here because it's a white color, and then part of the background is white, so it blends in. So it's harder for a person to be able to see that. And so the fix for that, the same thing that you could do with yours, is going to be something like this. So I'll go inside where I actually have the website here inside of the HBA Funnel Builder that I use for all my pages. And what I'll do is I'll actually keep the words white, and I want to see what it'll look like if I make this background a little bit darker. So that way, it can the words can pop out. And what we do is it's just really easy inside of this builder. We just go add overlay, and it's going to add an overlay. And then we can kind of play with it as far as how dark we want the overlay. So I'm going to start with choose the color black. I'm going to start with a black overlay. Now, black with the opacity all the way up, that just means the whole screen is going to be black. I don't want the whole screen to be black, of course, so I'm going to drop it down a little bit, maybe about here, and kind of see how that would look right there. All right. So we get out of it, we save the page, and then we can go over here and just refresh the page. And you notice now we have like a black tint, right? That's what the overlay is. It's like a black tint. Well, because I chose black as the overlay. But now look right here where it says communities. Now you can actually read that word where it says communities, even up against that white background, because we have that black overlay. And notice that you still can, the person going into your site still can see the video. So even if I wanted to darken it, maybe I darken it just a tad more. So if I want to darken it a little bit more, come back over here to overlay, right? And say, hey, let me come back over here to the right just a little bit, just to kind of, you know, just kind of play around with it and see what would be a best look. Okay. And you see, yeah, I like that. I like that because, like I said, a person could still see the video and you can see the words. So that's what I mean by changing the overlay. Now, in whatever builder that you're using, it may be called something else. But the typical term is overlay. So look for something that allows you to be able to do that on your site, to put like some type of a little bit darker overlay, and then change the words to white and see how that would look. Okay. So that's the first thing that I see. All right. Because when a person comes to your site, they really only, like, people don't actually read websites. They kind of skim them. So it's like we have about maybe 3 to 5 seconds to kind of catch their attention, with whatever we're saying on our site. Right. So we want to, make the best of that. Now, the next thing that I noticed right off the bat is I notice I don't see a call to action. Okay, the call to action is like whatever you want us to do as the website visitor. Whatever you want us to do is, whatever button you want us to click, or maybe you want to just fill out a form. You don't want to have force a person to scroll down for that. You want it to be what's called above the fold, and that just means that they don't have to scroll to get to your call to action. All right, and let's see what your call to action is. Let's scroll. Okay, so you have a call to action here that says learn more. So we would want that call to action to be above this fold area. Maybe you'd want to, put it over here with some text over here if that's what you chose to do. Maybe you want to kind of move this text up a little bit. It's just kind of how you want it to be designed. But the idea is you want the code, whatever you do, however you're going to design it, whether you're going to put some words here, some words there, and a button underneath in the middle, however you want to do it, you want it to be above the fold 100%. So it's like there are some things. it's like there are some things that are just universal to building a website. Like and it's not about being a professional, you know what I'm saying, or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a professional. You know, I just research, I learn a lot of things, try a lot of things, and things pan out. You know what I mean? But the builder that I use, you don't have to be a professional, which is great. With the HBA Funnel Builder, you don't have to be a professional, which is awesome. That's why I got it. It has the training for us. We have the community where we're able to get feedback, and we're able to use this from a very beginner friendly way. Okay, so one of the things that's just universal is you want to have the call to action above the fold. So I would definitely move that button up. Now, another thing that I'll mention, and I see here you have, I believe this is called a ghost button, but whatever the terminology is, it means like it's hollow in the background, and then when you go over it like this, it highlights. All right. Now I'm gonna share with you some things that I've learned because I had one of those hollow buttons too. When I was first, getting starting to learn about websites. All right, and it's only been some months. It's not been years. Okay, keep that in mind. It didn't take long to catch on to this stuff, but here's the thing that I didn't think about. I was just like, that looks pretty. One thing I didn't think about is, again, how difficult is it for the person, like even if it was up here, how difficult is it for the person to just off the bat 100% know that that's a button? Like we don't want to leave anything to guesswork. So I've only seen a few sites that have this ghost button. Like I said, I used it because I thought it was cute. But when I learned better, I did better. All right, so I would definitely say go with a filled in button. One that's already filled in, and you can still do the effect where when you hover over the button, it changes the color. I'm sure your builder can still do that. We can actually do that in HBA as well. So, for example, if I come back here to this site, like this button is filled in and it actually has a hover effect. It's a little bit light, so you probably can't tell. Again, this is a test one, but let's say if we were to come over here, and this is how we would change it in our builder. We would come over here, let me move this out the way. Y'all probably can't see that, but that's the zoom thing. But anyway, come over here and then go down to hover effect. Okay, so hover effect, let's say if we had slide color to the right, okay? And let's say if I want, can I move this down? Hold on. Let me move this down a little bit. All right, go back up here. Okay. So I'm saying when I hover over it, since the color is already this color here, I'll probably want to make it just a little bit darker, right? As the hover effect, something darker. As a matter of fact, let me get the color of this button right here. Let me get the button color. I'm gonna take the button color so that way I can start with that. And then go to the hover color. Paste in the button color so that way I know where I'm starting from. All right, and then maybe make it a little bit darker. Maybe a little bit darker like that. All right. All right, just so we can see the difference in it. Okay, so come back over here. Refresh the page. All right, so that way a person can see clearly, that, hey, yeah, boom, this is a button, right? When a person hovers over it. All right, and that's how we would do it in our builder. Like I said, the builder that you're using, Kayla, may be different, but it'll still have that idea. But you want to start with a button that's filled in. And that's a suggestion, like I said, and like I said, there are some sites that have these ghost buttons, right? But you want to think about what's going to be the best on your website, what's going to be best for the user. Because at the end of the day, it's not about what we want, as the person who's putting the website out. It's not about what looks pretty to us, because like I said, I was doing the same thing. It's about what's going to be easily readable for the person who's coming to our website, because how are they going to convert, to a conversion and buy your products and all that stuff if they don't even realize that you have a button there. Okay, so that's definitely one thing that I would change on that. Also, I would probably make the text here just a little bit larger. I mean, not super large, but again, I'm on desktop and it's small. And I got on glasses, right? And I got on glasses. So I would probably make the text here just a little bit bigger. Again, just thinking about, the end user, what's going to be good for them. Like this button right here. What text size am I using for this button right here? This is, let me see, text style. I'm using a 22 size on this one. That's what I'm using on that one. I'm using a 22. Um, and let me see if I could see what this one is without clicking it. This was a 16. All right, so your button text is a 16, and the one that I was using is a 22. And you see it's a little bit bigger. Like I said, it doesn't have to be gigantic, but I would say test it out and see how it looks if you bump this up to a 22 pixel for the letters right there, and see if that looks a little bit, cleaner. That's what I would say. Um, let's see. And again, we're just at the hero section, okay, on this. The video itself on the back, like I said, I like the theme for sure. Um, I mean, the video looks okay. The video looks okay. The only thing that I even might would do is maybe slow the video down just a little bit, because it's like at the times when it kind of jumps, you know what I'm saying? Then that might be the only thing that's a little bit distracting, so maybe if it slows down a little bit, then that would be okay. But like I said, I like the video, personally. The video would not make me not be able to move forward with the website, right? But the things that I mentioned, not having the call to action above the fold, not being able to read this text, those things would hurt me, or the button itself being so clear, those things will hurt me if I'm trying to actually, make a purchase on your site. You have the logo up here. All right, cool. All right, this is the menu right here. Now we'll see how this looks on mobile. Now on desktop, it's what I'm getting at is like the text font that you're using, and I understand why you're using it. Like I said, I believe it does match with the grunge theme, but it's about, is everybody or the majority of people going to be able to clearly read it, right? Some fonts are just a little bit harder to read, unfortunately. So you may, want to test a few different fonts, just regular sans, open sans font, um, just, you might want to test that out. But like I said, I understand why you're using this font, because of the grunge look. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we can read this right here, because like I said, when the video is blinking, in the back, it does make it harder to read. And then the color, with it being orange, we run into a similar problem like we ran into here, with the background. So once you darken that overlay, over the overlay over the video, then you could kind of see, how things are. Maybe this could be a little bit bigger as far as the words, because right now it's a little bit hard to read, and that's just what you're dealing with. All right, so let's go down. Now we haven't looked at the mobile yet, but we're gonna look at the rest of it. Okay, now we have I guess like a scrolling effect right here, descend into chaos. Um, Okay, the other thing I needed to mention too is I need to make sure that we understand what the site is about. Grunge Honey represents the juxtaposition of beauty and gloom. These creations are crafted specifically for high contrast individuals who find solace in sugary lyrics amidst distortion and chaos. Okay, that doesn't tell me what the site is about. Now, here's the thing. I see the word shop, so I would assume it's about buying stuff because it says shop up there. But what's supposed to happen on the hero section is it needs to tell me, what it is that you do, what you got for me. Like, you got to tell me as the visitor what's in it for me. Like, what are you selling, or whether it's a service or product, what you selling, right? How can I get it, right? And why should I get it from you? So those things need to be apparent above the fold. And right now I can't tell what you're selling. I can't tell why I should get it from you. And because the call to action is down here above the fold, I can't tell how I can get it. right? So it doesn't answer those three questions. So that's definitely another thing that we do, change the wording to whatever it is that this site is about. So let's go down and because you don't want to, again, you don't want to rely on people having to scroll because, like I said, 3 to 5 seconds, person comes to your website, they're deciding, hey, am I on a site that's going to help me or not? Type deal. So you want to make sure we clearly answer that stuff up front. So then it goes into descend into chaos. Um, I don't know what that means. So the person coming to your website, they might not know what that means either. Like, what does it mean? What does it have to do with your website? I'm saying, it's like, what are we doing? So that's another thing, like kind of clear up the messaging on that. Um, then we go down here. He says, Mr. Shred's collab from stage to shirt. This grunge honey X Mr. Shred's collab is for the ones who carry the breakdown in their bones. Okay, so this verbiage is not telling me again, like, what is this? It's not giving me enough information, right? It's not about having more text, but it's not telling me, what am I gonna benefit here? So and of course we're still dealing with the color, right? The colors that you chose with the background. So you might want to do, like an overlay and then some white text again, playing with the text like we did up top. Um, I see here you have the solid button, that's cool, and you do have a hover effect, like when we come over, it gets darker, so that's cool. Um, Now it says shop, so I would only assume if I got this far in it, because anywhere that we lose people on the website is going to hurt us, right? We don't want to have to make people think about what we're selling and think about how we could get it, right? We want to be able to be as transparent as possible so that they come and they go ahead and they buy, right? Because the idea of the website is for us to be able to make sales uh, while we sleeping, right? You got your website out there, maybe on social media or wherever, or on your business card, wherever you put your website at. Maybe it's on Google, people finding you on Google, right? You sleeping, or you out, hanging with your family or whatever it is that you're doing. You doing other parts of your business, right? You want it to be where people can get all the information they need from your site, and decide to either buy something if they can buy it off of the site or reach out through your contact methods that you may have down below, okay? Without them having to wonder. So here we have a picture. So I'm guessing that maybe he sells these two shirts right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the link. I just opened in another tab actually. All right, so he sells shirts. All right, so this is his shirts that he sell. Okay, all right, cool, cool, cool. All right, and yep, I definitely see, what I'm saying, the checkout page and everything like that. All right, so yeah, I mean, I don't see an issue with this personally. Like I said, it's just, I mean, the colors are good as far as like it's purple in the background, but then you have the white to offset it. So, and it's not about me saying, oh, purple is bad and blue is better. No, it's just about the contrast as far as like, can I read it? And I can, I can read that. So that's cool. All right. But yeah, so the other changes, the same that I mentioned. All right. Going down, featured products. Okay. New drop, new drop, new drop. Okay. I guess that's just how you categorize it. As far as new, like everything, I guess is new. Okay. All right. I would have thought it would have been like categories like like teen t-shirts or something, but I guess maybe all their t-shirts, but these t-shirts look different than this t-shirt. Like this looks like a half shirt. So I would have thought it would have been like new drop would have been like categories, but maybe you're just saying that this is new inventory and that's cool. That's cool. Again, I like the contrast as far as like the purple in the back and then with the white background here so that way we can read it. Again, I would just kind of look into the coloring of the orange that you're using with the orange and the purple because like I said, it's just a matter of we want to be able to see it, right, as the reader. And then having the purple on purple, not ideal because the colors are too close together, right? And the closer they are together, the harder it is for some people to read it, and we don't want to give them any issues, okay? Um, Okay, you have the image here, get to know us. Okay, cool, cool. So basically you're telling people a little bit about you. All right. I would say that the text style, again, going back to the text, again, I understand that it matches the grunge, type of deal. Maybe the grunge text can be like the headlines, and maybe the smaller text can be regular text, like open sans or something like that. And the only reason I'm saying it is because the smaller text is not as big as the headline text, right? And understandably so. I'm not saying make this big, understandably so. But it's harder to read the grunge text when it gets smaller. It's just harder to read it, right? So we might want to change the type of text here to maybe like open sans or sans serif or something like that. Right? And I'm sure you have access to all of those text like in our builder. I mean, it's just, we just talk about regular text, like let's say I have some text here. Open Sans is what this one is. That's what I mean, like the text, like the font family, right? Open Sans is the one I usually use. Sometimes I'll use Arial, and we have the ability inside of HBA to upload some extra fonts as well. Personally, I just go with what's there. That's what I've been using. I've been using what's there already. But we do have the ability to upload other text. But that's what I mean by the text, something that's just a little bit more readable. Okay. All right. And then you have a learn more button here. Okay. Now, one thing that I've learned as well, and I'll share that with you, is that you want to have consistency with your call to action, but with your main call to action buttons. And what I mean by main call to action buttons, like your main call to action buttons, it seems like it's learn more, right? So let me just click this one and see. Click it over here. Who we are. Okay, no. Okay, no. Okay. So this was something that you're basically like telling them more about you. Okay, so your main call to action. So let me take it back. All right, so your main call to action that should be up here in the hero section. Your main call to action is gonna be like what you want these people to do. Ultimately, you got this website because you want us to buy stuff, right? It's not a website that's just now it'll be different if your goal was just to kind of introduce yourself and that's it, which is not because I see, the stuff you're selling. Your goal is to sell stuff. Okay. So your main call to action is to get people to take the main thing that you want them to do. You want them to buy stuff. So your main call to action would be something that leads them over to your store. Whatever, whether it be, I don't know if your store is individual, meaning like he has a store and then she has a store. I don't know if it's set up like that, but you want them, the main call to action for it to be the people to do the action that ultimately is going to get you paid because that's ultimately what you want out of this site. Every site's a little bit different. Most sites, they do want to convert for customers. All right. And this one, it appears that you do want to convert for customers. Okay. So this learn more that you have, like where you're telling people more about yourself, that might be better down. Wasn't there a section? Okay, right here, where you are talking about yourself, right? You get letting people know a little bit more about you. Like sometimes people will put that on an about us page, or they may have both. They may have like a little blurb here and then more information about them on another page, which is totally cool too. But that's where that button will go. Now this button right here, let's see, it may go to the same spot. Let's check because I don't know. All right, yeah. Yeah. You see how this says this is the about section? You see that? All right. Now that button made sense. That button made sense as far as like where it went, right? That made 100% sense because you were saying get to know us. You're telling me what you want me to do in this section. Like every section, um, as the person who has the website as a business owner, so that's for me, for you, or any other business owners, right? We want to tell the person what we want them to do in every section. And so here you're telling me that you want me to get to know you, right? And your company. So that button right there made sense. But up here at the top, right here, this isn't a time to say, get to know me. That's not the time to say that. This is the time to say, hey, buy my stuff. Right? I mean, don't actually write that, but you understand. Like the call to action to take the main action that you want the people to do to convert for sales. All right. So that's definitely the wrong call to action. I mean, you can use that button with the changes that we talked about, but make it go to wherever your store is. Okay. So let's go down. All right. So then it says follow us on social. Okay, so you have some social. These ain't social icons. Oh, well, I don't know. I'm gonna click them and see because I say that maybe I don't know about these social platforms. Let me see where that go. All right. Now this one went to Instagram. Okay. Now it wasn't apparent that that was Instagram though, right? At first I didn't even know what it was. It says follow us on social, and then it has a button for social. Are all these let me just find out. Maybe all these are Instagram. Let me just see. But you see how I have to guess? Like I shouldn't have to guess that you're saying follow me on Instagram, right? You should tell me to follow you on Instagram if all of these are Instagram. And it looks like because that one went to Instagram. Let me see this one. This one went to Instagram and this one with Instagram. All these on Instagram. So you should just tell me, follow me on Instagram, right? Don't leave it up to me to click and find out because the website, when it's built for conversions, is not a time to have curiosity, right? That's the stuff that we do on social media when we're marketing and stuff, we build up the curiosity. When I say social media, Facebook specifically, right? Because YouTube ain't like that. But Facebook is curiosity. We have a lot of curiosity on Facebook, but when you have people on your website, that's your money maker, right? You want to be as clear as possible on what you want them to do. Now, what I would recommend, okay, now that we know, okay, you need to tell me I'm going to Instagram, first of all. You need to tell me that. All right. There's not really a need to have 4 pictures that and because you haven't really explained what it is that you do other than the fact that you sell some shirts, right? You haven't really explained throughout that, nothing that tells me that this should be here, right? Now, I believe on your Facebook post, you said something about you're a graphic designer, but I'm looking at the website without looking at your Facebook post because your potential clients or potential customers, they're not looking at your Facebook post, right? They're looking at your website. They're finding your website. So they need to know from your website need to tell them, right? So your website doesn't tell me anything about your graphic designer and that these are some of your examples. If these are your examples, I don't even know, right? So you don't want to leave it up to me to guess because a person will not click. I clicked because I'm giving feedback, but I was even hesitant to click. Like, is this clickable? Like, what's going on? All right. So, like I said, there's not really much of a need here unless you're doing something like, it was a portfolio that you were showing, right? And now here it says social. I'm guessing that this will go to Instagram because the other ones went to Instagram. Okay. So they went to different areas and okay, no, they didn't go to different areas. They just went to Instagram. Okay. We definitely don't need every image going to Instagram. That's for sure. Okay. So yeah, I would change this up and just say if you want them to follow you on social media, just say follow me on Instagram. If you want to have, these as like part of your portfolio, you can say here's some of my here's some of my previous works, and then have a section below that says follow me on Instagram, right? Versus just saying follow me on social. Follow me on Instagram. Let them know exactly where they're following you, right? Um, and sometimes there's buttons, these social icon buttons that you maybe use instead of just a regular button, because the social icon buttons are noticeable versus just a regular button. Like, let me see. Look over here and see, because I don't know if I have, you know what? I have used them before. So I'm gonna just drag it up here just to look at it real quick. All right, and share this page, you go to page, add, let me see what ones we have here. All right, so I see we have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So it'll be like this right here. Okay. For example, now of course you could change the color. Now this is how it is in our builder, but it may be different in your builder. But I'm pretty sure you'll have some type of social media icon buttons because most of the builders that I've used, and I've used more than one, do have them. And then you could change the color, like if you wanted it, to be, if you wanted them to be pink, you could change them to pink if that's what you wanted to do, to kind of match what you got going on. And again, we wouldn't put it here. I'm just using this as an example, okay? But that's something that you could do the icons definitely instead of just a regular button, because the thing with the that I was going to say before with the call to action buttons, whatever your main call to action is, you want it to be consistent. And so when you're telling people to go to your store, because remember your main call to action should be up here, not this one that takes them over to the About Us area, right? If it's gonna be orange for your main one, right? Your main one is where you want people to convert to and buy stuff, right? Then let it be consistent. In this case, like I said, we want it solid, but let's say if it's solid orange, okay, cool. That's a main one. This is the main one right here, and learn more doesn't really tell them, much. Like I said, because we're talking about your main conversion. You want them to buy stuff. Now we wouldn't say buy stuff in here, but you can say shop, so they know they buying stuff. You could say shop. Um, and here it says shop, but it's the orange, it's the solid orange. Okay. And then this one is like a sub call to action because this is a lesser call to action. So that makes sense for that to be different, right? But your main call to actions, you want them to be consistent throughout your pages, right? And on the page itself. And that's another reason why not to use a button here. Just saying because now, I mean, not saying you couldn't use a button, but like I said, I'm sure the platform has some social icons so it's more recognizable. All right, and we talked about, how to kind of switch this up. All right, now you have a contact us page, okay, or contact us section, okay. And a lot of times this will be on here if it's a one-page website, right? And that's cool. I get it. I get it. That's cool. All right. And again, the same feedback would be for the words. The smaller ones is harder to read with that grunge type of text that you're using. I don't even know what text that is. Hold on. Let me see. I can see what I don't know the name of the text, but let's see. It's called New Rocker. Okay, New Rocker. All right. So with the New Rocker text, right, it's just harder to read with the small, but so that's going to be the same feedback as the other areas that had that. Okay. And and again, so you get the point about the text that you're using. You're trying to switch that up unless it's for headings. You know what I'm saying? Like contact us would be a heading, grunge honey. Well, grunge honey, this might be in place of your logo, I guess. That's usually where the logo goes. But okay, made by grunge honey graphics. So it's not until down here that I even realized that maybe you're a graphic designer because it says made by grunge honey graphics and shreds media, right? So it's not even to all the way at the bottom of the page. And a lot of times people are not going to scroll all the way to the bottom of the page. And that's in anyone's page, that's just how it is, right? They look to see, hey, what I'm here for, what you got for me, do you got it? Let me hit the button, let me buy the thing or reach out or whatever, you know? And then you have your contact information here. Okay. Okay, you got your email right there. All right. Now, one thing that I have learned as well is from what I've learned, you don't want to put your email address on the page. It has something to do with people will be spamming you. Like spammers will spam you, not regular people. Spammers will spam you. Now, so what you could do in lieu of actually typing it out is what I mean. Typing it out, you could put a email icon right there, and then make it click over to your email address versus typing it out is my point, right? And again, that's because what I've learned is that people will spam your email address if you just have it, typed out there. What are we gonna do? Spammers will be spammers. And I guess there's no phone number, and that's fine. Not everybody has a phone number to contact. That's not how you run your business. That's fine. Um, and whatever you do, though, you do want it to be clickable, whatever you do put here. So if you do use the email icon, you do want it to be clickable, right? So a person could click it. And because like right now, in order to email you, I have to like copy this and then I have to go in my browser and paste it. You know what I mean? So you don't want a person to have to take all those extra steps if you're going to bother to, give it to them here, make it clickable. Okay. Um, and then you have the contact form here, which is great. And then returns, let's see what page that goes to returns. Okay, let me just go to that page right here. Okay, so you do have a contact us page. Okay, that talks about returns. Okay, all right. And again, we'll just talk about the text choice, the font here, just make sure it's, use something that's really easy to read. Okay. But that's good. You have that there because especially if people are buying stuff, they want to know, if I need a return, what can I do or whatever. All right. You got your location there. Okay. Awesome. All right. Now, if you were using a business phone number, of course you put it down there. But if you're not, that's cool too. Because like I said, not every site has a phone number. It just kind of depends on what you're selling. Um, and then let's see. Let's go back. So we talked about that. And let's look at, you got shop, Mr. Shreds, about, contact, login, cart. All right. So let's go ahead and hit these buttons before we look at the mobile side of things. Hit these buttons. All right. So that comes over to our shop. Okay. Our shop where we get all of our stuff, all right, that people can buy. All right, and this is what I was saying, like this page right here would be our main call to action. So let's go back. Right, so we hit shop, right? That would be like our main call to action that we would want this button to go to. You see what I'm saying? Because ultimately you want people to buy stuff, right? So your main call to action would be shop, right? I mean, you could put other words in it. I'm just saying your main call to action is that you want people to go and buy your stuff. So that page that we just went to here, right, would be where you would send them to, because this is ultimately what you want them to do. You want them to come over here and buy stuff, as far as I can tell, right? You want them to come and buy stuff. And so they come over and they're like, oh yeah, I like this, I like that. And then I guess this is going to click to a cart. Okay, cool. This clicks to a cart and they can add it to the cart. Wonderful. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So that's good. That flip, and it's like in my customer mind, that flows, that makes sense. You know what I'm saying? From the customer standpoint, that makes total sense. All right. And then you have stickers, Mr. Shreds. I guess that was all the stuff from that guy. Okay. So a person can see that. All right. And then go back to all Devil's printing. All right. Now, is there a reason, and it may not, but like I would think that this menu bar would be, like would follow from page to page instead of like when I go to Mr. Shreds, it just goes to all, right? I would think that same menu bar would be there, right? The same menu bar would be there from page to page. So that way a person could just go back to what they want. Because now with it doing the way you're doing it, I'm having to take another step as a customer. It's like, all right, if I want to look at the devil's plaything, right? It's like, oh, let me see what that's about, right? Boom. Now I look at the devil's plaything. It's like, okay, all right, I see what that's about. Let me check out that other thing. Oh, damn, what was that other thing? Right? It's not there now. I have to now go back to then go to that other thing versus going right to that other thing, right? Meaning, like, if this menu right here was already there, then I wouldn't have to go back to all and then start over. I could go right from Devil's Plaything to over to tease, over to oversize. And again, it's about the user experience just being clear and concise. And again, everything that I'm saying is I'm coming from the aspect of one, the things that I've learned that are working for me, as I build out my sites and everything, right? But also from the customer standpoint, if I'm the customer, because I'm acting like a customer, like I've never seen your site before, you know what I'm saying? Before you post it. So it's like I'm a customer, what makes sense to me, right? Because as customers, they just want to get to whatever it is, they just want it to be simple. And that's understandable. They don't want to have to keep on clicking when it's not necessary to keep clicking, right? We just want to go ahead and get to the thing. It's like, okay, boom, go from tees, go to button ups, go to Mr. Grunge, blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, yeah. Now I know what I want. I'm gonna get that. I'm going to buy it. All right. So that would be my suggestion for that page. All right, let's take it back. As a matter of fact, let's go back for a minute. Let me see something. Let's go back for a minute. I'm back. Okay, now I'm not sure. Hold on, let me go back. Okay. All right, so I wanted to make sure I knew how to get back from the page that I was on. All right, so to get back to the home page, guess we have to hit this. All right, that wasn't apparent. Okay, not everybody's gonna know to automatically hit the icon, your logo, to get back to this main page right here. Not everybody's gonna know that. And I'll be honest with you, the only reason I know that is because I have been working with, the websites, right? But before that, I wouldn't have known. I'd be like, how I get back to the homepage. Because I'm used to, and customers are used to, like, people. are used to certain things. Customers are used to certain things with websites because the majority of people are not building websites. The majority of people are not business owners even. Okay. So they're not used to certain things. They're used to what they're used to. They're used to seeing something that says home. So it's like, all right, they know they can click that to go home. Right? They don't have to guess about it. So that would be something that I would say you might want to look into, just add one right here that says home. So a person knows 100% how to get back to the home page. They don't have to guess how to get back to the home page, as they're looking at the other pages. You don't want them to have to guess. Okay. And we talked about the About Us page already that you linked to. Cool. I'm not sure. Let me see what the login is. All right, now, but this may be something that you have people create accounts, so that might be why you have login. So that's cool. You know, like I said, because it's however you have your site set up. Now, if this was like a local service business or something like that, that customers don't need to create an account, but in yours, I could definitely see they probably do need to create an account or can create an account because I know when I buy stuff online, I can buy it as a guest or I can create an account, so I get it. So if that's what that's for, cool. If this is to log into like the back end of your website, I'll take it off. All right. I've seen WordPress website, for example, I've seen WordPress websites and some of them, not a lot of them, but some of them have a login. It's like, do you want people to be trying to log into the back end of your site? Like keep on trying until they get it right? Nah, you don't want that. But like I said, if this is because people can create an account, with you since they're shopping with you, poof, run with it. Totally cool. All right, but that's my feedback on that from the desktop. Now we just take a quick look at the mobile, and we'll do F12 to get to the mobile part of it and go back up to Moto G6. All right. And I just hit F12 to get to so I can see it on mobile, right? And just kind of see if anything, if the things were the same on mobile or what. And you notice on mobile, again, the call to action is not above the fold. Above the fold would be above this bottom area here. It would be all above that, right? And so the same issues persist that we talked about before. Now one thing that does look odd to me is that it has a zero right here. I wouldn't automatically know if I'm looking at this on mobile, I wouldn't automatically know that that has something to do with the cart, and I'm assuming that has something to do with the cart. Okay? Because this says cart zero, right? But then on mobile, it just says zero. So I wouldn't know what that's about. Usually what's up there when it's a shopping site usually is a picture, an icon of an actual shopping cart. That's usually what's up there. And it's like that's what people recognize. So it's like you can be unique, but as business owners, we still need to understand when we need to not try and be so unique, right? You know what I mean? Because then that's when we wind up confusing our customers, and that's not what we intended to do, right? So going down, so we already talked about that. The scrolling definitely looks off on mobile. And the thing is, it's like because we have less of the words in the frame, right, on our phone. So a person would have to like sit there for, multiple seconds before they even know what it said, right? So you want to think about that, like maybe on mobile version, maybe you want the scrolling to be a little bit smaller so that it can fit, or something like that. Smaller meaning the font size, so that way it could fit in the screen. So that we can read it without having to wait multiple seconds to read it. That's a possibility. I am noticing a good bit of space in between here. You might want to kind of trim that space down. Just and again, it's just about if I'm coming to your site, okay? If I'm coming to your site and I'm on my cell phone and I'm like, all right, cool, all right, and let's say you turn this into the white text that we talked about, and I get here and I stop here, right? Which makes sense. I stopped at a scroll. I didn't like, shorten the scroll. It's like, okay, now I'm here, and then I hit learn more, right? I don't realize that there's other things down there because it's a lot of space, right? It's like even if the tip of it was showing right here, then I'd know, oh, there's more stuff down there. So that's why like spacing is important. So that way a person doesn't just assume like, oh, that's the end of the website. You know what I'm saying? Because I had to like scroll a couple more times before I even saw this right here. So I would say, look into on mobile, deleting some of this space right here. And going down, we talked about the color. You see how that blends in, and this is on mobile. See how that blends in? If I'm actually on my mobile phone, because obviously we're doing this right here from the desktop, even though it's the mobile version, but if I'm like actually on my cell phone, like I ain't gonna be able to read that. And that's with my glasses on, dude. That's with my glasses. So imagine before I had my glasses, it'd have been over for me. This yellow is definitely blending in. You see, it says this, and I know this says grunge because I looked on desktop and because I seen the word grunge before, right? But if I'm just looking at this mobile, and remember, a lot of visitors to our websites are mobile, right? A lot of visitors to our websites are mobile, all right, versus desktop. So we have to make sure that they can see that. Like I still know people who don't have a desktop that they roll with the mobile, like that's their phone, that's their computer, that's you know what I mean. So just throwing that out there as well. And then especially like if they're on the go, they're not at home, you know, their desktop is at home. A lot of times people don't even take their laptops with them. They'll take their phone with them because you know we can do so much on our phone. So they're out, you know, taking a break from work and they're gonna check out your site and do some shopping. They're probably gonna be on your cell phone. So cell phone is definitely utmost importance. But yeah, I wouldn't even be able to read that. Like I can't even read it now, right? It's very hard. All right. And then all right, then the shop button is real close to these buttons right here. And on mobile, it wasn't like that on desktop. Let me see. Okay, I see. So it's over here on mobile. I mean on desktop, and then it's over here on mobile. Okay. Yeah, I would just kind of work with the alignment there, kind of put some more space in between the shop button and then these images. And it's gonna need to be on the mobile version, it's gonna need to be where a person knows what, you know, what to do here. It needs to be very, very clear that you want them to click these images. It was a little bit easier to tell from desktop, a little bit, right? You know, because I mean it said shop, so it's like, oh, so you want me to buy those things? You know what I mean? Like, because there's like no words with it. It'll be different, like if it had like a little blurb that said, you know, whatever this type of shirt is, you know, and you know, buy now, like, you know, buy now, like this shirt, da 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 da, is cotton blend, whatever is about shirt. Just a little short blurb, I'm saying, you know, to let a person know that, hey, I want you to click this shirt to get the thing, right? To buy it, right? Let a person know that. So let's go back to, oh, okay. All right. Then featured products. Okay, you got the featured products. All right. Definitely needs to have some type of verbiage again, letting people know what you want them to do here. Because it's like it doesn't say click here. You don't want it to say click here in the button, but I'm just saying it doesn't tell me that you want me to click somewhere to buy it. It don't tell me that. And you want to tell people that. And same thing out here. All right. And then this one says shop all of them, get to know us. All right. And we looked at that. And we talked about this, you know, as well. So it would be the same thing on, you know, so a lot of these changes that you make on desktop will reflect themselves on mobile, but I wanted you to be able to see, you know, because I think on your post too, you had mentioned something about that when you and your person was making the website, you had looked at it and you thought everything was good, but it could be that y'all was looking just at desktop. That's possible. A lot of times when you know you're making your site for the first time or even second or third time, you know what I mean? You're not aware that you need to be checking the mobile. You know what I'm saying? Once you're done, check the mobile and make sure everything looks good over there too. Okay. I used to do that too, you know. So don't even feel bad. It's nothing to feel bad about. You know, all the things I'm saying is stuff that I've learned to undo or I've unlearned. You know what I'm saying? Like, because I've done it before too, you know, and I learned to do better and now I have better conversions on myself. So that's cool. All right. And then you got the contact us page and that. Okay. So that's the desktop and the mobile, you know. So basically, you know, this gives you a lot to work with as far as, like I said, you know, what I'm seeing, you know. Now definitely take into account everybody else's advice as well. I did read some of the comments on the post that you made, and a lot of it was very you know, in line with what I'm saying as well. You know what I'm saying? Mine may have been just a little bit more detailed, going line by line with it. But I think if you make some of these key changes, you know, on your builder, then you'll be good to go. Like I said, I don't know what builder you're using offhand. It really doesn't matter because, like I said, most of them you can do everything that I mentioned. I know the builder that we use. If you ever, decide to get you another site or whatever the case may be, HBA Funnel Builder is the one that we use, and it comes with the training on how to use it and the supportive community and all of that good stuff. But hopefully, this does give you some insight into some things to look at from the customer point of view. And once you make the changes, please do let us know, show us the updated changes. And if you need some more feedback, we'll give you some more feedback. But overall, I think you're going to rock it. I think you're going to rock it. I really do. All right, now that we've finished that HBA Funnel Builder review and really gone through that website, from top to bottom, desktop, a mobile version. All right, hopefully you've learned a lot, right? Whether you've already created your website or maybe you're looking to create your website. All right, it's definitely the number one tool that I recommend for that is the HBA Funnel Builder. All right, definitely the first link down in the description or the link in the comments. You can grab it and check it out for yourself so that you can get your business online and start getting more leads and sales. And don't forget, guys, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, baby, because I'm bringing it to you every single week. All right, other than that, y'all already know we see you on the top. All right, and we out.